Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Agenda Setting Work Session for Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. It is 9:05 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. On my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards. To his left is the County Manager, Mayor Chavez. And on to my right is Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. And we have Commissioner Mejia through our Zoom. The conference line is no longer available, but we have live streamed through the Thurston County YouTube channel for public participation, and we have a boardroom that is available, very limited capacity with social distancing for in-person attendance as well. That's preliminary things. We've got folks on the Zoom. We're doing a hybrid meeting, and we'll introduce those folks as their items come up. We'll start, as we have for about the last year, with the COVID-19 update. And I see Director of Public Health and Social Services, Shelley Slaughter, on our Zoom portal. So Shelley, take it away.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today is day 496 of Thurston County's COVID-19 emergency response. And to date in Washington State, there have been 444,999 confirmed cases of COVID-19. With 5,782 Washingtonians that have lost their lives since the beginning of this pandemic. That includes 10,738 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Thurston County, with 222 new cases occurring in the last week. That puts us at 102.4 on the COVID risk assessment dashboard over the last 2 weeks for our population size. 109 Thurston County residents have died, and 1 new death occurred this last week. 691 people have been hospitalized to date in Thurston County. Currently, 82% of our regional hospital beds are occupied, which is fairly close to normal. We are seeing new hospital admissions trending down. However, there have been 5 new hospital admissions this last week in our region. 7.2% of our occupied hospital beds are with COVID-19 patients, and 13.5% of our ICU is occupied by COVID patients. This represents 33 people in the intensive care unit in our regional hospitals. Just an important reminder that this is still a very serious disease impacting people in our community, and this pandemic is not over yet. Our test positivity rate is 3.8%. We do have community testing available offered by Thurston County Public Health at multiple locations each day of the week. Today, our team will be at ROOF, Rochester Organization of Families, tomorrow in Lacey, then at Union Gospel Mission on Thursday, and Evergreen State College on Friday. There are multiple places people can get tested. Strongly encourage people to get tested if they're experiencing symptoms or have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To date, we've had 60 congregate care outbreaks in Thurston County, 5 that our team are currently investigating. Moving on to our vaccination progress. To date, Thurston County vaccine providers have together administered 271,097 doses of COVID-19 vaccine. That includes all 3 different types of vaccines available, both single dose series and multi-dose series. 50% of our total population has now initiated vaccine. This is, again, our total population, including children under age 12 who are not yet eligible. 43.9% of our population is fully vaccinated, having completed a series within 2 weeks or over the last 2 weeks. In terms of those that are 16 and over, which is an important metric that we're following because that is a presidential and governor milestone that we are trying to reach, we are currently at 59.8% in Thurston County. To put in perspective as to how Thurston County compares to the state of Washington on this metric, the state is at 67%. 58.2% of people age 16 and older are fully vaccinated. And we have a new metric to share with you this week, and that is 12 and over. 12 and over in Thurston County, residents who've received at least one vaccine is 58.2%. The state's risk assessment dashboard for vaccines has been updated to include more county level data, so I encourage members of the public to check that out. In terms of our Thurston County public health vaccine events that we have coming up, we are at Capitol Mall every single day now, and starting later this week, we will be inside the mall as well, occupying the former GNC vitamin store is now going to be, as of June 16th, an indoor COVID-19 vaccine center that will be open during regular mall hours. Tonight, we are offering the Pfizer vaccine to people aged 12 and up at South Puget Sound Community College. Strongly encourage anyone 12 and up who hasn't been vaccinated yet to come out and visit us, where we will be offering Pfizer. Then on Friday, we will be offering Pfizer at North Thurston High School from 8 to 12 p.m. And then on Saturday, we have a Juneteenth event that we will be working at Yager Park near our Capitol Mall location. Lots of other vaccine opportunities and events. Our mobile location is going throughout our community, partnering with different organizations. Strongly encourage members of the public to check out Vaccine Locator and our Thurston County Public Health and Social Services website. And with that, I will pause for any questions you may have.
I do. Any news on the 10,600 that have recovered from COVID, that have had COVID and recovered from COVID, about including them in the vaccinated side of things?
At this time, at the state level and subsequently at the local level, the metrics that we are reporting on include those who are vaccinated, not those who have recovered from COVID-19.
And you did say something about if you're 12 and old to come in, that means come in with a parent?
Yes, absolutely. Parental consent is required for anyone under age 18.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, my question is in relation to the Capitol Mall location. Are we getting people interested in that location? What are the numbers looking like for vaccination at that specific location?
Sure. Well, I don't have the exact aggregate data from our vaccine site at the mall, our mobile site that we've been operating outside in front of the Sephora near the movie theater, for those that want to know where we're at. We've had really great response. For the time that we're there, an average, I would say, of about 30 people coming for vaccine, some that are really eager soon as our team arrives to get vaccinated. And so that's, to us, every vaccine matters. We're happy when even we administer one vaccine, but really pleased with the response we've had thus far at the mall and hoping to continue to increase that.
Okay, if I can have a little bit more data on that next week, I would appreciate it, please. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm done.
Okay, County Manager.
Good morning, Shelley. I apologize if I missed the data. What is the percentage of positivity rate? Do you have that?
3.8% currently.
3.8. Okay, thank you.
That's been declining for a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I believe probably a month ago we were close to 11, if I recall well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, item 2 this morning is homeless strategies update. Keely Marino, you're up.
Great, thanks. Good to see you this morning. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. A brief update on our rental assistance program for the week. 514 households have been served so far by Community Action Council. 620 more households are They've had, so they've gone through the process. They've had their appointment. They're just waiting for checks. 613 more households are in queue for appointments, and they've spent $3.2 million in rental assistance and about $83,000 in utility assistance at this point. I do not have community youth services data this week, but I'm sure that they're continuing on as they have been. Smaller numbers because a smaller population, a focused target population that they're serving. Also this morning, I just wanted to draw attention to our Q1 Homeless Management Information Systems Data Report. So Homeless Management Information Systems Report is HMIS in our office. And so it's really important to understand that HMIS data that we have is partial data because it captures data of those who have entered our system, which means they've walked into an office or they've connected with somebody out in the field, or they've entered a shelter project and they get entered into the HMIS data system. So those who have not engaged with the system and received an intake are not represented in this data. So just a really high overview. We just continue to see trends that persisted throughout 2020, that COVID-19 continues to impact emergency shelter capacity. The emergency shelters are still operating within the guidelines of physical distancing of 6 feet. So they've not gone back to mass congregate sheltering, and it's anticipated that they will not. And then, of course, that impacts permanent housing placements. We still have a dearth of affordable housing units available. So although folks might be receiving vouchers or rapid rehousing dollars, it's still just a struggle to find housing that is affordable and accessible to them. That means that folks tend to be waiting in the system a little bit longer before they're placed into a program. So moving from 122 days in 2019 on average for people hanging out in the system up to 190 currently, or at least through the first quarter of this year. And then there's been an increase of certain target populations or subpopulations that have been seeking services in our system, primarily people and actually especially people fleeing domestic violence, veterans, households with disabilities, and youth and young adults. So just seeing some trending up in those subpopulations and seeing the numbers of people entering projects still stay really low as COVID-19 still impacts our system. And I'm happy to take any questions.
No questions for me, thank you.
Yes, Keely, do we try to prioritize?
And I am sorry, I am not hearing anyone. So if you're asking me questions.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me speaking?
Yes, now I can hear.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You hear me now? Okay. Do you know, on those people that we are assisting, are we giving priority to those that can show they're from our area versus outsiders that have moved in?
So our coordinated entry system and most assessments that any of our agencies would conduct, if they have prioritization or assessment tools, specifically coordinated entry, are looking for ways in which people are vulnerable or more vulnerable to mortality. So being more likely to die on the streets, essentially, is what these assessments are measuring. And so they do not measure whether or not, nor do they prioritize people based on where they have come from, but rather on vulnerability.
Okay, so local residents don't get any preferential treatment if they've fallen on hard times.
And yeah, anyone entering the system that's in need of housing or shelter will be prioritized according to vulnerability.
Okay, I guess what I'd like to just point out to the public is it's my understanding that we've had 3 individuals deceased over the last weekend. And they were all from outside the area, is my understanding, at least from the local media reports. So I just think as a policy measure, we should figure out some way to help our local folks first. I'm not saying don't help the others, but I really think it's a mistake that we can't help our local people first. So but just a comment on the situation by me. Thank you.
Just really quickly in response to that, I would then say that those three unfortunate passings of individuals that happened over the last weekend, that wouldn't have been helped if we were to not serve them.
Well, no, and I won't argue that. Apparently they were not from the area and they did not get the help. So I'd just like to see some kind of a prioritization. So, I mean, if we're gonna save somebody, I would hope it would be saving somebody here locally. I mean, any death is a tragedy, but I just wanna emphasize helping our local folks first, that's all. Thank you.
Keely, I've got a question about the emergency shelter, just kind of looking at where we're at, you know, I know we talked a lot about this kind of at the onset of the pandemic, and, you know, a lot of shelters had to go to very limited, you know, whatever it was, 50% or less capacity, and then there was some groups that stepped up and, you know, tried to add, we added a few beds here and there, I think early and mid 2020. So I guess sitting here today in June of 2021, what's our percentage of, and guesstimated if you don't have it, you know, if you don't have the number handy, but what's the percentage of like the number of beds we have now available versus where we were pre-pandemic?
Well, not doing super quick math, I know that we had at the peak of cold weather season at the beginning of the 2019-2020 cold weather shelter season, we had over 400 beds. And currently, if we include the mitigation site is in downtown Olympia, is included in these numbers, then we would be down around 3 to 320. So we about 100 bed loss.
Like, yeah, about 25% down, sounds like. Roughly.
Yes, and it's also important to note that Union Gospel Mission is not included in this data because they do not enter people into HMIS. So those numbers are not reflected in this data.
Okay, that gives me a sense. Thank you, Keely. Anything else for Keely? No. All right, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Okay. That'll bring us to item 3 for the morning's agenda, which is a review of this afternoon's draft agenda for the board meeting, which will be called to order at 2 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia. Consideration of the agenda and for today and the board meeting minutes from last week. Opportunity for the public to address the board, as always, and then county manager's update. Anything there? No.
I don't have any pending updates.
Okay. Then we'll have a consent agenda with 3 items. The first 2 are tax title sales. I think we've had this on numerous times here. The first one, 3A, is authorize the sale of tax title property via private negotiation to David McLaughlin. And I see our county treasurer, Jeff Gadman. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Anything new that you need us to know about item 3A?
Not really. There isn't any new information to share, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions at this time.
No questions.
No questions.
All right.
No, it's not.
I'll see you this afternoon.
Let's go to 3B. And that is also a tax title property in private negotiation to OAR Investments, Inc. Anything here, commissioners?
No questions.
Okay, we're good, Jeff. Thank you.
All right.
Item 3C is our auditor voucher list. Any questions from the board?
No,
Okay.
sir.
And we're good on the consent agenda. Item 4A is a central services item, a resolution and call for sealed bids for Thurston County Corrections Facility roof siding repair.
Good morning, Commissioners. You reviewed this item last week, and this is for you to consider issuing call for sealed bids to do some improvements on the Thurston County Jail located on 3491 Ferguson Street, Northwest in Tumwater. And we're seepage a contractor to do some roof and roof level repairs because we have been dealing with seepage of water in some of the areas of the new jail. So we have spent a lot of time and effort in terms of facilities and doing this maintenance work. I think it's time, hopefully we can find a permanent solution to this issue. Right now, we do have money on the buildings reserve, and that is the funding source in which we're gonna be paying for the repairs on this particular item. As soon as, if the board approves issuing the seal call for bids, then the staff will come back with a contract for you to consider awarding the contract to the low bidder.
I see we have Mariusz Kowalewski, our capital project manager, to answer questions from the board. Commissioner Mejia.
No questions.
No, sir. Anything you want to add, Mariusz?
No, we're just waiting for bid and we'll go to board, present the contract.
Okay, sounds like we're good. I know we had some questions last week that I think were answered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5A is Public Health and Social Services 2021 housing contracts.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. You reviewed this item last week, and you requested of me to give you a copy of the specifics attached in your packet. This is a yearly request for proposals that it was issued in February 2021, where included many sources, including the Consolidated Homeless Grant, the House Bill 2163, the House Bill 2061, the Human Services Fund, as well as the federal home funds, which the county received 47 applications for funding, including 7 basic needs, 8 of housing basic needs, 26 for housing and homeless services, and 6 for housing capital projects. This particular item was coordinated and approved by the Regional Housing Council. Commissioner Mejia serves as vice chair of this Regional Housing Council. And in fact, those proposals were reviewed by a subcommittee, which Commissioner Mejia was included in that review process. The result of that review process concluded on awarding 21 affordable housing and homeless services projects serving low-income households and homeless individuals and families in the county for a combined amount of $4,901,500. Also includes the proposal to award 4 capital housing projects for development of affordable and supportive housing units for a total of $1,619,333. Included also is 6 housing basic needs projects for a total of $200,000 and 6 basic need projects for a total of $272,621. That adds to the total of $6,993,454. Included in your packet is the details of all the award grants. I am not going to walk you through that. It will take me an hour just to read all of them. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And also Tom Webster is here to answer any questions or provide additional perspective on this item.
Real quick, Ramiro, I have the spreadsheet of the awards, but it looks like you're holding something different. When you said there were specific details of the.
No, it's the
It's the same project. Okay, got it. Tom, anything?
No, that's a very good summary. I don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners?
No questions.
No, I don't have a question, but I do think this goes to show that we could actually take care of our folks in need here locally. I just ask the community to be aware of how much money we put into this issue. We've just got too many folks with their hand out that are not from around here. And I just like to emphasize that as much as I can, because oftentimes the county gets criticized for not doing enough. Well, we will never be able to do enough if these folks keep coming and are never persuaded to stay in their own jurisdictions and let those people help their own. So never enough room in the lifeboat. That's a statement. Thank you.
Commissioner.
I'd just like to add additional perspective, and and I think it's worth highlighting that this particular request for proposals this year included a point criteria that added just about 20% of the overall point criteria for all the nonprofits who submitted applications as to how they're planning to advance racial equity within the activities they do. And I just want to highlight this, I believe, a fundamental change from what we used to issue the request for proposals in the past, as well as how we used to score the applications in the past. I don't know if Tom would like to elaborate on that, but I believe it was, from my perspective, a fundamental change on how the proposals were reviewed this year. Just a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Am I operating from just making sure. It's like I'm operating from a prior draft of this motion, and in doing, I skipped right over the LGBTQ Pride Month proclamation. So let me swap the right agenda, and let me just touch back on that before we move forward, since I skipped it, wasn't on my draft. So this was a continuation from last week, and it sounds like we have
members of the community who will be present today and perhaps receive the proclamation.
Okay, anything on this item from the board?
No, sir.
Okay, so let me just double check everything else is the same. A, B, and C, yes. Covered 4A, we covered 5A. 5B. This is also a public health social services item, treatment sales tax, community grant awards.
Yeah, commissioners, every year the board set aside treatment sales tax to award to the community grants to meet the intent of individuals with mental health and substance abuse disorders. This particular process went through this year, and we received 8 proposals were submitted, and the review panel of county subject matter experts, which include the TST advisory committee members, review the related proposals. You had a briefing where Carrie Hennon provided to you what were the results of the recommendations from the treatment sales tax advisory committee. The board had a discussion on this and concluded on awarding the Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties $100,000 per year to support the treatment for sexual abuse survivors through the Monarch Children Justice and Advocacy Group. The board also supported awarding the grant to Family Support Center of South Sound for $89,524 per year to provide case management and support for families with behavioral health needs at the Pearl Blossom Place shelter. Also included is to Northwest Resources for $30,000 to develop an integrated medical care for individuals with behavioral health needs. In addition to that, Family Education Support Services will be awarded $50,000 to provide classes and peer support for parents with behavioral health needs. Last but not least, the YWCA of Olympia will be receiving $46,180 per year to serve youth with behavioral health needs of its Youth Council program. The contracts will begin on July 1st, 2021, and Carrie Henning is here to add additional perspective and answer any questions the board may have.
Carrie, anything to add up front?
No, that was another great summary from the county manager. I'm happy to take questions.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes, I just wonder for the public, so they'll know how much money we are putting into these social programs. Any chance we could add for a total of on a dollar amount?
On the total grant, I believe it was 200 and if you like, we can add that total.
I just think it's good to let the community know where their money's going.
We'll add the total on the motion for this
Okay,
afternoon.
thank you.
Because it's 250, but we added, we
I
bumped
think
it.
it's 260.
Yeah, we took it up a little more.
Take it up.
I think it's,
Yeah, it was over, and then we added 50, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's a good point. We'll add it, the total.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Item 6A is Public Works Agreement with County Road Administration Board, or CRAB, for funding for 183rd Avenue Southwest to US 12 to Sergeant Road Southwest project. See Teresa Parsons here, our engineering project manager.
Commissioners, you reviewed this item last week, and this is for you to consider authorizing the Public Works Director to sign an agreement with the County Road Administration Board to receive a grant, as you stated, for 183rd Avenue, for improvements on 183rd Avenue Southwest from US 12 to Sergeant Road. This agreement includes $1.1 million in grants for this particular project. However, the overall contribution from the County Road Administration Board is for $2.2 million, which is going to be allocated to the county in 2 bienniums. So the first one is for this biennium, and maybe in a year or so you will see the next agreement.
2 bienniums or 2 years of them?
It's in 2 bienniums, I believe. That's how they work. And so this is the first for $1.1 million, and the next biennium will be for an additional $1.1 million, for a total of $2.2 million for this project. We estimate the total cost of the project will be about $2.7 million. And the remainder outside of the grant will be covered by the County Road Fund. Teresa?
You did a good job, County Manager. Any questions?
Questions, Commissioner McGeown?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
I guess we are accepting some money, which is a good thing. It's hard to object to that, you know, but I do think the public should know that, you know, the total amount we spend or something. And if we're spending $1 million of our money and $1 million of the state donation, I guess, to the program, don't we usually list that amount?
Well, we're not quite ready to.
We're not there yet.
We're not quite ready to
Okay.
have the total cost of the project because we're in the initial stages of development.
Good enough. No
So
questions.
We're receiving the grant to begin the engineering side of things.
No questions, sir.
Okay, good. Let's go to item 6B under Public Works. Contract award for the, and I think I say this differently each week, Latigo Street and Chehalis Western Trail at Spurgeon Creek project.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. The board early in the year authorized Public Works to request seal bids. So on June 8th, 2021, Public Works received 4 bids to construct Latigo Street and the Chehalis Western Trail crossings on Spurgeon Creek. The low bidder is Quigg Brothers of Aberdeen, Washington, and they provided a low bid of $1,132,215. The department is requesting for you to consider awarding the contract and authorize the director to sign for $1,245,436, which includes a 10% contingency within the overall contract. This particular project will be funded by the total cost is $2 million, I believe, and it will be funded in part from the Fish Barrier Removal Board grant, which is $1.7 million, and the remainder will be from the real estate excise tax too. And I believe, I continue to say, when we receive grants on the Fish Barrier Removal Program, I believe that was the intent of the board when you invested real estate excise tax money to see how we can leverage outside funding. So this is the result of that. Marcus is here from Public Works to answer any questions related to this item.
Anything for Marcus?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Nope. I'll be glad to see Latigo Street move right off the agenda. We've had this item a few times. Thank you, Marcus. Item 6C, Public Works Contract Award for the Gate Road Culvert Replacements Project.
Yeah, Commissioners, I'm going to brief this briefly. You reviewed this item last week as well, but I will ask the board to delay this to next week. And the reason for that is there is some information related from citizens related to the location of the guardrails along this particular project. So I have met with Public Works last week, and I'm planning to bring in the morning, next Tuesday, some of the perspectives related to the location and the guardrails. And at that point, I will ask the board to take an action on this. So I'm working on that, so give me another week to work through those issues, and I will provide additional information related to some of the guardrail feedback we have received from the citizens in the area.
Concerns about that proposal?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I did receive correspondence from some of the community members out there, and maybe my seatmates did as well. What I took away from that correspondence was it looked like maybe a prior agreement had, I don't know, I'll call it reneged on or backed up on or went backwards on, I don't know. They didn't, that's what they're alleging. I'd like to know more about that.
I will touch
Is
base
that gonna be
on
part of
all
your
that next
discussion?
week.
Okay,
Yeah, I will make sure that we'll address all those items.
thank you.
I do have an answer for all that.
Okay, good enough.
Perfect. Yep.
So let's move that for next week.
All right, good. Well, then it sounds like we have an agreement to remove item 6C for today and discuss that with a little bit more background next Tuesday morning. Item 7 is our standing items where the board will report on any work sessions or community events or committee meetings, and we will review our combined schedule for the upcoming week. Which will bring us to item 4 on this morning's agenda, which is to review the draft agenda for next Tuesday's board meeting, June 22nd. The meeting will be called to order at 2 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Edwards. Consideration of the agenda for that meeting and board meeting minutes from today. Opportunity for the public to address the board, county manager's update. I assume we have nothing to address at this point?
No.
Okay. Then we have 3 items on the consent agenda. 3A is human resources, a resolution to amend the Voluntary Employees Beneficiary Association Plan, or VEBA.
Yes, as a matter of perspective, the board approved implementation of the Voluntary Employees Beneficiary Association (VEBA) program for all county employees in 2019. And the VEBA allow employees to pay for eligible medical expenses on a pre-tax basis. For most Thurston County employees, the VEBA account is empty, so have 0 funds. However, until an employee retires, they have the option to take some of the sick leave cash out. They may be rolled into the employee's VEBA account, and that will help us in the retirement stages of county retirement stages to access this account for medical expenses tax-free. There's 2 unions, there's a little bit different. And the Deputy Sheriff's Association is one of them. And where their VEBA contributions is given on a monthly basis. So there's already an account, money set aside for the Sheriff's Association. So during the negotiations, the Deputy Sheriff's Association has asked for those members to access those funds for medical expenses while they are in county employment. So it's a little bit different. And I believe that is the agreement they have reached, and this particular item addresses that agreement. And again, access to those funds during employment has to be only related to eligible health care insurance. And I don't see Maria here, but in any case, that's the purpose of these items. If you have any questions, if I am not able to answer, I will make sure that we'll bring those answers next week for you.
I do have a question.
Will you go ahead then?
This is to cover the deductible because they have insurance, or what's this for?
Yeah, I believe it's to all that, for anything that is not covered under their insurance, that can be eligible items.
Okay, I guess as a follow-up to that, there's something pending, and maybe Maria could bring us some information into that, or maybe you're planning on it, I don't know. And it has to do with long-term health care. a mandatory contribution from the employee to a fund, but the fund has got some issues, I guess, like if you go to work in another state, you lose everything that's been contributed. So I think the information that the community or that the employees need to have is, can I buy into a private fund that would maybe allow that shift to another jurisdiction or something like that? So I hate to see the employees be taken advantage of, especially when it comes to their ability to change jobs.
Yeah, you are correct, Commissioner. The state legislature passed a new law that requires for all of us to contribute for long-term care. That particular piece of legislation has nothing to do with this particular items. It's unrelated.
Might we have a briefing on that, those requirements at some point?
Yeah, I can probably ask Maria to come back and review. I believe over a month ago, she briefly mentioned this to you. And in fact, she sent already an email to all county employees outlining some of the requirements of this new law.
When did that, but I think there's some more information coming,
Yeah.
as I understand it from HR, we just haven't got it yet.
Right, and there is a lot of nuances on this. One of them is the option to opt out. And if
you're old enough?
No, I think it's if you secure a private long-term insurance, you have the option to opt out. If at my understanding, and again, we'll follow up with details on this, is if you don't have a private insurance, you still have to pay. But I think the key is for employees who may be reaching retirement age, the vesting is an issue.
Right.
Because if you plan to retire in the next, let's say, 3-4 years, and if you do not have a private coverage, you will be contributing to this fund. If you retire in 4 years, you will lose money because you will not be able to be vested. So there's a lot of nuances on this.
There's several reasons to opt out. I've been attending webinars through my wife's work, so I unfortunately could probably give you a briefing on this topic. But
Well, I guess from my perspective, I'm just hearing about this from others once in a while. I don't think it's going to apply to me, but I just want to protect our employees and give them early enough notice that this is coming so they can make an informed decision without being in a rush right at the end of the deal.
So in fact, with that made, HR already sent an email, I believe, 2 weeks ago, you think?
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, outlining all the steps that an employee can take.
Well, it wouldn't hurt from my estimation if we got a little Reader's Digest version of that.
Yeah, no, I can certainly bring Maria, but what I'm trying to address is that we have informed.
Yeah, we're working on
county
it,
employees about this.
So
A lot of questions.
I do have a question, because over here, I'm seeing that this is for Thurston County Deputy Sheriff's Association. Is that only for their office, or does it include all county employees?
It doesn't include all county employees because the difference is for the VIVA, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
The VIVA account is an optional, meaning when somebody's going to retire next year outside of the sheriff's office, you have sick leave buyouts based on the numbers of years they have stated. So that option allows for that employee to take that cash out, put it into the VIVA account, and they can use that and the retirement used to cover medical expenses. The Sheriff's Deputy Union is different. They are contributing on a paycheck basis, so they're already building an amount on their VIVA accounts, where the regular employee, me, I'm not contributing to that. It's just an option after I choose to retire.
Okay.
So that's the fundamental difference. Because right now, the Sheriff Deputies Association and the members within that association, they're contributing every month to this VIVA account.
So it's a health savings account.
Yeah, it's a health savings account. So what this agreement does is for allow them to access what they have already contributed for to cover healthcare expenses. Did I?
Maria may be in the waiting room.
Oh.
It only applies to the members of this particular bargaining unit.
Okay.
Is there any, is there any problem for the county to have them do what they're proposing?
It is a benefit. What this allows us to access their contribution.
It's kind of, that's what,
Their money.
that's what a health savings account is. It sounds like this is not really a health savings account and they want to treat it more like one because ordinarily you get to do that.
Right. Well, this is a health savings account basically that the county is paid into because they've taken the sick leave that they've earned, cashed it out, and instead of taking that cash, put it in the VIBA.
After
So,
retirement, for
right.
regular employees.
But
For
as
regular
these-
employees, right, but we're paying into their VIBA now instead of later. Or we're paying in now and later
And later,
for
yeah.
this particular.
Maria Ponte, our Director of Human Resources, is present. We're trying to make sense, Maria, of item 3A on the June 22nd agenda. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Trying to make sense, Maria.
Hey, Josh, I think,
Okay.
can you mute yourself?
22nd agenda. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hold on, Maria. Hey, Josh.
Still unconnecting.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I was on a long delay.
All right, my volume is, I'm hearing you very well. But based on the joining the conversation here in the last few minutes, Romero and Robin are correct. One of the clarifications I will make is during the last round of negotiations, the deputies, they had a cleaning allowance they were receiving on a monthly basis, and they negotiated to have that cleaning allowance go into this VIBA account. And what they're wanting to do now is to access it. So if they go to the doctor and they do have a deductible, or if they have a prescription, that they can utilize that money while they're actively working. As well as upon retirement, based on a vote of the members in that particular VIBA group, they can elect to have their sick leave be deposited into this account. And then that helps them post-retirement. Because as we all know, medical benefits are extremely expensive, and law enforcement can retire at a younger age, and so they're not necessarily eligible for Medicare. And so this helps them bridge that gap.
Any other questions for Maria?
No, I guess my only question, it's a good idea then, is that what I'm hearing from Maria?
That may be a matter of perspective.
Well, I don't know, I mean, she negotiated it.
Well, it's a negotiated agreement, yes.
I would say that there is no detriment to the county
Yeah.
for this.
Okay.
And before you leave, Maria, you heard the conversation that I'll be working with you to come back to the board and give additional perspective related to the new law associated with the long-term contributions the county employees will have to make.
And what I can add on that is that WICF, which is our Washington County's insurance fund that we get some of, I believe it's our vision and dental, they're looking into providing an option for our employees to self-pay for that long-term care insurance, and then they can wait through the state. Because there are some restrictions, as Commissioner Edwards was alluding to. And so we are working on that. And as soon as we know whether our provider, they have to do their own separate vote. As soon as we have more information, we will share that with employees.
Maria, I would just encourage that, because what I've learned is that in calling as an individual, calling insurance companies, I'm being told that a lot of insurers will not do this with individuals, that only work with groups. So
Okay.
like, for example, my wife's in the school district, so I have that option to work with her. We have county employees that, have families, and this may be their only option or their only viable option. And there are this law is such that there's a lot of reasons for people to opt out, financially and coverage wise as well. So if there's an opportunity to have a group, I would think that would be really a good benefit to our employees.
Yes, absolutely. We should know something here in the next week or two.
Excellent. And just the other thing I learned was that you have to have this thing activated before November 1st, and most of the companies, like they'll start with you have to have, I can't explain this right, but basically it says November 1st, but it's really October 1st because you have to have it active October 1st to have it active before November 1st because they activate on the first day of the month. So,
Okay.
so the law says before November 1st, well, that basically means October 1st because you're not going to get, so that it's really a tighter timeline than the law even suggests. So there's no kind of time to delay on that. It's what we learned at the school district webinars that I attended. Okay.
Well, sounds like you have a lot more information than I do.
Well, the bottom line is, in my estimation, it's a trick by the state to create revenue. And they're hoping that people will move out of state and change jobs and all that, because then they just get to keep your donation. And so it's kind of a little smoke and mirrors going on there. And I'd like to have it pointed out to our employees what all their options are.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Maria.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to item 3B. We're on the June 22nd agenda. It's a clerk's item, resolution extending the end date for position 05R01489.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. This particular position was approved by the board on a temporary basis, and the current position ends on June 30, 2021. The primary function of this position is to audit original filings with the electronic copy. Obviously, this, from their perspective, is a critical step on the entire process of the clerks maintaining a complete and accurate record for Superior Court files. The request is for you to consider extending this temporary position to December 31st, 2021. The clerk's office is not asking for additional budget allocation. They have enough salary savings. They can cover the cost for the remainder of the year. Any questions?
Questions?
No, sir.
I know the clerk has had 2 or 3 more resignations of late and is really struggling to stay staffed. So this is probably an important piece of that puzzle. Item 3C is an auditor voucher list, and I assume the board will raise questions in the intervening week as we get that list. So we'll go to item 4A, Voluntary Stewardship Program Contract Renewal, CPED.
Yeah, for your consideration, Commissioners, is to approve a contract renewal with the Washington State Conservation Commission in the county. And the county serves as an agency that they secure any type, they receive any type of grant funding from the state to perform the duties of the Voluntary Stewardship Program. This particular proposal is for the next pay. The current contract ends on June 30, 2021. And the proposal is that will range from July 1st, 2021 to June 30, 2023. This particular contract has a ceiling, I believe, of $235,000. And that may or may not materialize, is depending on the grants that we receive from the state. And again, it's a renewal of the current contract. Chris Chapeau is here from our Community Planning and Economic Development to answer any questions and add additional perspective.
I have nothing to add. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions at this time.
No, sir.
Chris, I guess I'm just curious about when I first took office a couple of years ago, I heard about this program and how it seemed like we were in the latter stages of developing it, or we needed some kind of an approval, or it was, there was talk in the community. I would hear about, our VSP program is almost ready or something like that. I don't know exactly how it functions, and I'm just wondering kind of, are we over that hump, or is this program operative, or kind of where does it stand?
So we are in our implementation phase. As you were coming on, we were working on the finalization of our work plan. So the county opted into VSP. We had to create a work plan, which we set up a VSP working group to do. We have that working plan. It's approved by the State Conservation Commission. And so this is our next step in ongoing implementation of that working plan.
And are there particular properties like queued up to work that have expressed an interest in working with this, or is that something that you're doing outreach, or how does that fit? I mean, are there people out there actively engaged now, or?
Yes, we have 14 properties that have full ISP, which is a plan under the working plan that provides each of these property owners information and best management practices on how to maintain or manage their properties for the specific critical areas on their properties. We have people that are queued up with our technical service provider, as well as ongoing outreach to reach out to the community to enter into or engage with our VSP program.
ISP stands for what?
Yeah, I knew that until you asked me that
Stewardship
question.
plan, am I guessing?
Individual stewardship plan.
Okay. Individual stewardship
You see
plan.
Josh and Jennifer jump in with thumbs up.
Well, you guys did a great job, and this is one of those services, as the general name states, voluntary stewardship program. So this is a service to our citizens that want to opt in. We did a great job, the staff did in CPED, in building the work plan and then offering it to community members. 14 members, property owners, took us up on it. Those are the individual stewardship plans, and those are being implemented. So this is one of those places where the commissioners ask us, what are we doing for farmers and folks in the community for conservation? This is it. This is a big thing, and really appreciate the hard work and the support from the board.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Yeah, my questions were intended to sort of bring that to light, because my understanding is that's kind of what this was about. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear what we're trying to do here to help a lot of different property owners navigate complicated legal constructs.
That's exactly right.
Just to be consistent with the board's perspective, I will add the total contract amount to the motion. And so
is that the maximum amount, what we might get, but we really don't know what we will get yet?
The contract has a maximum contract amount of $235,000, and I will add that to the motion.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Let's go to item 4B, also under CPED. Interagency agreement between Washington State University Extension and Thurston County.
Yeah, Commissioners, this is to formalize the annual agreement between the Washington State University Extension and Thurston County for 2021. So you know, the Washington State University Extension provides valuable services to the citizens and youth in the county. This particular MOU is for $166,306. And again, we have been exercising this MOU on a yearly basis. And I'd like to really highlight the great partnership that we have with the Washington State University Extension, and Stephen Bramwell, the director of the extension, is here. If you have any questions, as well as Josh, to answer any questions related to this item. But I'd just like to highlight the great partnership, and thank you, Stephen, for your continued support this partnership.
I have no questions.
Thank you, County Manager. And I'm here if you have any questions. Thanks, Commissioners.
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
I think we're good, Steve. Thank you for being present. Thanks, Josh. This is a good partnership and does a lot to Thurston County. Takes us to public health, item 5A.
I'm sorry, is that one, item 5A is the coroner?
Must be working with an old agenda again.
Yes, I think we are.
This is what happens when you give me multiple agendas. Okay, revised agenda, 5A, coroner, request for proposals for x-ray equipment.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. During the budget deliberations in the fall of 2020, the board authorized $250,000 in 2021 for the Thurston County Coroner's Office to purchase an x-ray machine to do forensic pathology and other examinations. Right now, the Coroner's Office uses the St. Peter's Hospital, and they already paid just about $6,100 in 2019 related to 23 individuals. I don't know how to, individuals have deceased. And also $6,400 in 2020, it included 400 individuals deceased. So the cost really is when the staff from the coroner's office has to transfer those deceased individuals to have perform the x-ray activities at the hospital. I believe the coroner, Gary Warnock, made a very good argument for the board to consider purchasing this machine that in the long term is going to be paying off. That is an initial investment, but I believe in the long term is going to be having a great return to that investment. So this particular proposal is for you to authorize the request for proposals to secure the vendor who can provide the x-ray machine for his office. County Coroner Gary Warnock is here. If you have any questions, if you'd like to add additional perspective, Gary.
Good morning, everybody. No, Romero, you did it quite well. Having the x-ray machine also kind of puts a target on our back in a good way, because the other rural counties would utilize that for a fee for service as well. So it'll generate a hub for other forensic needs for Grace Harbor, Clallam County, and maybe even Pacific County.
I do have a question. So when the board authorized the $250,000 for the purchase of the x-ray machine, did they also authorize a position for someone to operate the x-ray machine?
No.
So what's the plan with who's going to operate the x-ray machine?
That's our autopsy technician who does x-rays as well. And that's someone we're hoping to bring on board this week as a temporary employee.
Do they have to be licensed?
No, just trained.
Thank you.
No, sir. No questions.
Commissioner Mejia's questions were exactly my questions, so thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 6A, Public Health, DSHS Work First Children with Special Needs Program Agreement.
For your consideration, Commissioners, to approve an agreement with the Department of Social and Health Services. And this is related to secure a grant for $48,150. This particular Thurston County is to assist the development disability staff to determine the parents' ability to participate in the Work First program through an evaluation of children with special needs. Children with special needs are children from the ages of 0 to 18 and up to 21 if enrolled in the special education of the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Having medical, developmental, mental health, and behavioral issues requires specialized care. This agreement is from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. And again, it's for the cost of $48,150. That will be money coming into the county to implement this program. Gretchen Thaler from Public Health and Social Services is here to answer any questions and add additional perspective.
Gretchen, anything to add?
No, just that this is a renewal of funding that we've had for several years, and our Nurse Bonnie Peterson that does children with special health care needs is the nurse consultant that will see these families when DSHS sends a referral. But otherwise, thank you, Romero. It was great.
Question for Gretchen?
No questions.
No, sir.
No, me neither. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
We'll go to item 6B, contract with City of Lacey for Hicks Lake water quality monitoring.
Yeah, this is, I believe it's an ongoing contract with the City of Lacey, and this is renewal. From May 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2023 for the total cost of $11,553. Hicks Lake is within the City of Lacey, and City of Lacey have taken the steps to ensure the water quality of this particular lake. And through the contract with the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services is we provide the testing of the lake on a periodic basis. The monitoring of the water quality goes from May through October. And again, this contract is for $11,533 and will go from May 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2023. Art Story is here to add additional perspective, I believe. No.
City of Lacey's paying us for the.
Yes, it's money that comes into the county. Shelley can provide additional perspective. She just.
Questions for Shelley?
No, sir.
Commissioner McGee?
Is this a renewal?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Shelley, anything we need to know that's not been said?
No, sir. The county manager summed up this item well.
Okay. Looks like we're good to go there. 7A, Public Works, set a public hearing for compression brake restrictions.
Yeah, for your consideration, Commissioners, is for you to set a public hearing for July 20th, 2021 to consider public testimony before you consider amending Thurston County Code Section 12.37197, which outlines the use of compression brakes in county roadways. This particular proposal, this particular public hearing includes two roadways. Churchill Road Southeast between 1400 South and SR State Route 507. And also Little Rock Road Southwest between Albany Road Southwest and Sargent Road Southwest. The compression brakes, often referred as Jake brakes, are braking mechanisms installed in some diesel engine trucks. This particular proposal was based on the request that we received from some citizens. And again, before the board can consider implementing restrictions on compression brakes, you need to hold a public hearing and for you to receive public testimony. Matt Alseman from Public Works is here to answer any questions and add additional perspective to this item. Matt?
Good morning, Commissioners. The only thing I would add is when considering where to place compression brake restrictions in the county, we evaluate whether the road is flat, whether there's horizontal or vertical geometry involved, what the speed limit is. The intent of the compression brake is so trucks can slow down when they need that extra braking force when they have a heavy load and they're coming downhill to an approach or to a stop. One of the things we do is we have our own public works truck drivers drive these routes and provide feedback regarding the restrictions as well. And particularly on the Churchill portion, the portion that will not be restricted to compression brakes is the portion that's coming down the hill as it approaches State Route 507. We've also reached out to DNR, who manages the logging towards the back of Churchill Road, and made sure we incorporated their opinion on this issue as well.
No questions.
I do have a question on the motion. That last sentence that ends with where the use of compression brakes are prohibited. Are we talking about alleviating that prohibition?
It says ad segments.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering about. Is that worded right? That's all.
We'll look into that. What is your concern on that motion, Commissioner?
Just whether or not it looks, it's a little confusing. I mean,
I think I see what you're saying, to add additional, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that and see if we can change the motion.
Matt, you described where you would want to use them. Where do you not want to use them? Like, why are we concerned about, is it hard on the roads or is it noisy, or what's the point of prohibiting them and not just letting the drivers use their discretion?
Right. So like if the road is flat, obviously it doesn't take as much to slow the truck down as if you were going downhill. So you wouldn't necessarily need to use that Jake brake. Another instance where if you come up to a blind curve and the curve approaches suddenly and you need to stop suddenly, then you would need to use your Jake brake in that case as well. So if you have adequate sight distance, the roadway's flat, it's straight, you can see, then you don't need to use Jake brakes.
But what's the problem, or why are people using them and we have to actually stop them from using them?
Say that one more time, sorry.
Why are they using them when they shouldn't be using or don't need to use them, such that we have to have these rules to tell them when they need to use them?
Because often what happens is they'll throw them on, truck drivers will put them on at the last minute to slow down. And I don't know if you've heard the Jake brakes they have kind of obnoxious noise. They're extremely loud, which causes concerns with nearby citizens in residential areas.
Okay, so we're focused on places where they might use them, don't need to use them, and the noise would be at some kind of detriment to surrounding neighbors.
That was very well said, yes.
Okay. Sounds like rumble strips, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You had to go there, didn't you?
I had to. All right, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
It'll be an interesting hearing, potentially. Okay, well, that's the end of that formal board meeting. We'll have our standing items under item 8, and then we'll have 2 public hearings. Item A at 3 p.m. is related to 2021 Budget Amendment 1.
Yeah, Commissioners, you will be receiving public testimony related to the proposed budget amendment number 1 for the 2021 budget. And for your consideration is only one motion for you to close the public hearing. That will give you a week for you to consider public testimony, and we will bring an action for your consideration to approve the budget amendments on June 29th. That is the plan. Also, if I may, next item.
Go ahead.
Also related to that is the for you to hold a public hearing related, which receive public testimony for capital improvement program minor amendment. And that will include the 2 projects, the purchase of the Madman Plaza, as well as including the 3000 Pacific Avenue. And I don't know if you want me to go in more detail, but that's the history and the background. I think the board has been engaged in many conversations related to those 2 items. So also for your consideration at this time is for you to close the public hearing. And again, that will give you a week or so to weigh in the public testimony you might receive on this particular item. And we will bring an item for your consideration in the June 29 board meeting.
Any comments or concerns? Okay, so we know what those are about. Thank you. And that wraps up next week's proposed agenda for the afternoon of June 22nd. And before we do a recess, let's maybe cover a couple of additional items from this morning's agenda. Let's start with item 5, proclamations and awards.
Good morning, Amy Davis. The proclamation for LGBTQ+ Pride Month is included on this afternoon's agenda. We have confirmed attendance for this afternoon from Capital City Pride, and currently they do plan to attend in person. And the dates on the proclamation will be updated prior to the presentation.
Anything there?
No, sir.
Thank you. Let's look at item 6, advisory boards and commissions.
There are no new applications. Just a reminder that the Agriculture Advisory Committee will be meeting with Mercy and Glenn, the 2 farmer applicants, at their meeting this Thursday. So next week, we should have an update on those.
Very good. PIO check-in, Brian Dominique.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Manager, Assistant County Manager, Brian Dominique, Public Information Officer of the Board. I have a couple big updates this morning, but I'll try to move through them quickly. First, I'm currently coordinating a climate mitigation panel discussion that will take place the 3rd week in September, and the conversation will be facilitated by Commissioner Menzer. The panel discussion will be a hybrid model, both in-person and virtual attendance via video conference, and take place here at the Courthouse Complex in 152. In addition, the event will be live streamed on the county's YouTube channel, and participants can submit questions ahead of the panel discussion. I'm meeting with Commissioner Menzer next week to go over the outline of the event, and then after that, I will begin lining up panelists and building out a promotion plan for the event. This will be the first of 3 panels that the Public Information Office will coordinate, with the latter 2 taking place in the winter and spring of 2022. This will allow each of the commissioners the opportunity to facilitate a discussion and provide the community an opportunity to engage in important topics. Tentatively, we're thinking of the Regional Housing Council for our winter panel and the Habitat Conservation Plan for our spring panel, with Commissioner Mejia hosting in the winter and Commissioner Edwards hosting in the spring. Again, these topics and those times are only tentative and can be changed based on what the commissioners want to address. Once we get closer to that, I would work with each of the commissioners on that. And then I also want to follow up on the board's conversation about the portal as a tool to enhance public access to county government. I did look into that. So the portal is a line of products designed by Facebook for the purpose of video conferencing. While there isn't a product that would work great for facilitating meetings or things like that offsite, there are 2 products in the portal product line that I think can make video conference easier and more accessible for our office. The first is a webcam that can be mounted to the television here in room 280. What's neat about that webcam is it has motion sensor, so it can follow you around. So say if someone wants to write on the whiteboard over here, and they get up, the camera would follow you, and we don't have to manually adjust it as we do now. So that could be a benefit here for the room. And the second is a 10-inch tablet, similar to any tablet, but it also has that same webcam technology built into it. And the tablet is designed with the idea of making video conferencing easier on the go. It operates similar to other tablets, but it does require a Facebook account and a Wi-Fi connection, so there's no data package associated with it. So wherever you're at, you would have to have a Wi-Fi connection. If the board is still interested in any of in the portal and any of those things, my recommendation would be to purchase the webcam for this room and then 4 of the tablets that can be signed out by anyone in the BoCC as needed. And then finally, this Thursday, I'm meeting with the executive director of the Timberland Regional Library to talk about the potential to establish a way for people to participate in board meetings, public hearings, and other county events at a Timberland Regional Library. If it's feasible, this would allow anyone, but especially people who live further away from the county or lack internet connectivity or computer, to engage with the county at a Timberland Regional Library branch near them. So that will hopefully make access to county government easier. And that's all I have.
No questions.
Ryan, I understand about the camera. I missed what you were saying about the tablets, or the portal tablets, and how they could be used.
Oh, so the portal tablets, the portal tablets is like if you have a tablet now, it's like you can do everything you could with the tablet, but it has a webcam built into it that you can like set up, and if you're moving around or you're giving a presentation somewhere, you can set that up, and then you can, post it to your Facebook or something like that. That's what I have in mind for that technology.
So if a commissioner or other staff member were giving a presentation, you're saying you could use it, check it out and use it on remotely?
Yes.
And it would do the same thing, follow you around.
Exactly.
If I stick it up there and I'm presenting on climate mitigation or something, and it would be just a really handy way to create a recording of that or a live stream of that.
Absolutely. It would be a little bit more dynamic because you don't have to worry about where you're positioned. You can move around the room freely. And you could even use it just as if you're going to be out of town somewhere, but you still want to be able to attend these meetings, you could use it for that too.
It is a fascinating technology, based on what, at least the videos that I've watched. And for instance, speaking of your question, you can probably set the tablet in front. And then the camera moves, so this, because I'm speaking, it reads who is speaking, so the camera zooms here, and as soon as you start speaking, the camera moves without having to move the tablet.
I see.
So there's two options, I believe. Is one, just purchasing the camera, and that's what Brian was saying, to see if we can outfit the room 280 to do that, so we can follow who's speaking. I think
It's
that would be
following and zooming.
Yeah.
Kind of two pieces.
And also the other one is the tablet, which is the camera is embedded into the tablet itself.
So would the proposal be to replace the cameras that we currently have in this room?
I don't think we have gotten to that point yet, right?
So the camera mounts on the television, which we have right now. So that's what we're live streaming out, which is on the television. The proposal is we replace that. We wouldn't have to replace any of the other cameras in here.
So it will be just for this type of meetings, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it will zoom in and start capturing a little bit closer who is speaking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Next is legislative update.
No updates, sir.
Briefing, public hearing, decisions pending.
Nothing pending.
Okay, it's 10:26. We're up to our commissioner items, and we'll take that up after the recess. We'll be back at 10:40. Picking up with 10:01.
Get a 12-minute break then.
We're back. Thurston County Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session following our recess. It's 10:42 a.m. And we're picking up with item 10, which is a set of commissioner items. And number 1 on the list is Lake Management District request, discussion / direction. And I will let the county manager take us where we've done some discussion on this and there's some follow-up.
Yep. So, thank you, commissioners. And this is as a result of the briefing on April 21st. We're staff provided briefing and also Mr. Halverson, who's present here today, provided a PowerPoint presentation to you, and he walked you through their perspective, which concluded in 5 points, what is recommendations. I'm going to read those recommendations again for your consideration, and I will go back and touch base in each one of them. When I get to the point of touching base on each one of them, I'm going to give you my perspective related to the process. I am not going to be making any statements related to the value of those recommendations, and I'm not going to be providing any perspective related to what is the intended purpose of those recommendations. For me, is providing you with a process that I believe you need to be aware before you make a decision. My intent is to provide you with an informed, all the information that you need to make an informed decision. So the recommendations included on the April 21st, provided by the Lake Management District leadership. Number 1, county pay L&D I'm reading verbatim. County pay L&D indirect interfund cost to non-specified direct interfund cost, number 1. Number 2, county does not.
Can I stop you there? Didn't we debate and vote on the item?
So I'm going to go back to each one of those. Okay. So let me read those 5 first, and then we'll go back to.
Okay.
Because each one has a little bit of nuances. Number 2, county does not charge or require a bond to be posted to start LMD's process if 20% petition criteria is met. A small upfront cost for potential long-term gain. And those recommendations are in this attachment that I give you, by the way. So, number 3, LMD leadership and commissioner support to reach to brief our local state legislature to gain support to amend current RCWs and craft new legislation to address lake health with funding streams. Number 4, county public information office work with LMD leadership and commissioners to publicize county initiatives to inform the public. And number 5, LMD leadership and aquatic resources specialists to reach out to other lakes, brief their residents, encourage LMD formation. So on item number 1, following the April 21st, I brought this to your attention, and the recommendations at that point was for you to consider subsidizing just about $26,254, and that's a yearly cost. The interfund cost for Lawrence Lake is $9,488, and for the Long Lake is $16,716. The board had a conversation, debated that, and it was a decision. It was a decision 2-1. Commissioner Mejia and Commissioner Edwards added to include it on the budget amendment that is up for public hearing next Tuesday. Commissioner Messer was not opposed to this subsidy, but Commissioner Messer wanted to have this conversation during the budget process for the 2022-2023 budget process. That's how the conversation was. So included on the budget amendment includes the $26,000, and I confirmed this with Robin. Let me give you the number again. I just read it. $26,254. That is included on the draft budget amendment.
But that's the total for both lakes.
Yes. So and of course as you may recall, the conversation was a subsidy because some of the on the books they will see those the Lake Management District funds. The interfund costs will be charged because we didn't change that structure in 2021. What it does is they will see the charges of interfund costs But at the same time, they will have the board approves the amendment, they will have a deposit from the general fund to compensate for that. That's how we discussed the issue.
And if I remember right, that was your recommended approach for how to handle
It is, because that way we keep the allocation methods clean. They're
the audits.
easily audited, yep.
So
Consistent.
soon after the initial decision the board made, I informed the Lake Management District leadership of the preliminary decision of the board that you will be considering subsidizing in 2021. And I committed I will bring this item for your consideration again during the 2022-2023 conversation, which is coming up. We received some feedback, and that's related to the letters, the correspondence we have received. And perhaps that was not the intent of the request, because the intent of the request was to be on a long-term subsidy beyond just the 2021. And that is probably what the procedural comment that I bring to you. Obviously, the board at this point cannot make any budget decisions in an ongoing basis. You cannot make a decision on a subsidy for next year without having a conversation as to how the 2022-2023 budget will be. Nor you cannot make a subsidy decision in the long term that you will bound future boards to those decisions. So this, considering this a subsidy, you need to approach this on a budget basis. And that's the latitude that you need to, I believe, you need to have. And some of their correspondence that you received seems to be a different perspective, and again, for your consideration. That is my perspective in item number 1. Any questions on that?
Yes. I don't disagree with that analysis that you're making there, but I guess the lake management folks have reviewed this and found that at some time in the past, there was a law passed that you can, 1965, I guess, that you could do indirect costs, but that was not implemented until 2010, and I suppose that had to do with the recession a little bit. And other jurisdictions around the state do not do that, and so if we revoked that process, then we wouldn't have to worry about shifting money back and forth. We could just, as a normal course of business, cover that cost as an annual activity. And I guess my question is, and maybe Elizabeth might have the answer on that, do we have to do that indirect cost, or can we do it like other jurisdictions around the state which do not use that formula? That's my question.
Maybe let me answer in a different way. In the 2021 budget, the mechanics are not there to achieve what you're looking for. So the conversation needs to occur with the board in 2022 and 2023. And I call this a subsidy. And also I'd like to remind the board, the members of the LMD who pays the fees, they have already a subsidy, which is a 50% reduction on the stormwater fees. So, and I'd really like for you to consider, when you consider whether there is a way to do a long term during the budget process, that conversation needs to occur in the fall, during the 2022-2023. At that point, we'll find a way, if there's a way, to do a ongoing basis. I'm just providing you my perspective. And the budget amendment at this point, I don't believe that you have mechanics in which you can make a long-term decision.
Unless we revoke that decision from 2010.
I am not sure what decision you're talking about of the 2010.
Well,
I mean, I think the answer to your question is yes, we could. We have the legal latitude. It's just that we're taking this up in mid-year, so they're saying it's cleaner if we just subsidize the cost for this year, and then if we want to do what you're suggesting, we'll start that in 2022. And I'm not sure I want to do that, but that's, I think, the latitude we have
Okay.
to do what you're saying.
And I think what we're doing is we're trying to fix an issue, water quality, throughout Thurston County and encourage other creations of lake management districts. And currently, we don't encourage that if we tell them that, well, you're gonna have this all on yourselves, because the usage of these water bodies is beneficial to everybody, not just the lake management folks. And I think they pay plenty in taxes to help offset that. So I'm not sure that that's a big benefit. I'm not saying it isn't a benefit when they get a reduction in stormwater, but I don't think it's enough. And I want to encourage the other lakes to participate in these lake management districts for the benefit of water quality. That's kind of where I'm at.
One of the things that didn't come up, oh, sorry.
I just have a question kind of to piggyback off what Commissioner Edwards said. First of all, was there a resolution number passed or a policy that was passed in 2010 that, you know, for there to be this switch where we started charging this? Is there a resolution number? Was it?
I have to look into the details of that. I'm just looking for the decisions the board may have available to you during the budget conversation.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to answer in the affirmative. There was. I don't know that. I believe that Barry has done the research, him and his group. They've put a lot of effort into researching and to see how they could approach this and do the best job possible. And if the chair wanted to ask Barry, I'm sure he could fill us in.
I don't think there's any dispute. No one's ever disputed that at some point the county started to charge interfund costs at a certain juncture. I don't dispute that it was 2010. I don't. So that's a given.
Yeah, my point is procedural. Think about it from the process point of view. And the budget amendment you already subsidized for 2021. If you want to continue to this subsidy, 22, 23, that needs to occur during your budget deliberations in the fall. And that is my commitment that I submitted to the leadership of the lake management districts, that I will bring this issue to your attention during the budget deliberations. So it is an ongoing effort to, I believe, attest to the recommendation number 1. It's the process in which how the board may take those actions. It's really for me to provide that perspective.
Okay. However we do it, I'm not going to try to lay out which is the best approach. I just want to make the commitment that we're going to work towards cleaning these lakes around Thurston County and encouraging other lakes to create lake management districts. Okay, but that's kind of where I'm headed.
So I'm going to provide additional perspective on the other 4 recommendations. And we're just now at number 1.
And one thing I'm curious about, since you brought it up, Ramiro, and I had thought about it, I had understood that and maybe we need a little history, because I don't think it's in any of this material, a little history on the 50% stormwater fee reduction, because I had understood that a previous board had implemented that in large part to incentivize the formation of other lake management districts. And I'm not sure how many other counties do that. We've got the data on how many other counties do the interfund, because you guys provided that, but I don't know how many other counties provide this stormwater subsidy. And maybe that was just getting in line with what everyone else is doing, or maybe that was something unusual Thurston County did to incentivize. I'd like to know that. But again, that's probably a question for the fall when we decide how to manage these next year.
Yeah, and that's what my commitment is, to bring this item for your consideration in the fall. And I will bring the additional information related to the 50% subsidy by reducing the stormwater fees to the members of the LMDs. So that's item number one. I don't think I'm not here to say, don't do it. I'm just walking you through the process in which you may consider doing it.
For now, we're gonna
Okay.
backfill. Now we're gonna backfill.
For this
now,
year.
For this year.
So I have just to follow up, I mean, if there was a resolution or a policy, doesn't that have to be amended by the board if another board passed that?
Absolutely, it will take a legislative action to undo any previous resolutions.
Okay, so, and then you said you were gonna search to see if there was a previous resolution.
I'll research the details of that, and I will bring that as part of the whole conversation in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to item number two, and this is really for the board to consider the elimination of the LMD fee. It's $5,000 fee. And the LMD proposal comes to the county. It's just to cover the background analysis that we as a staff would need to do.
Is it a fee or they talk about it being a bond?
It's a bond.
So they get it back at some point?
Depending on what it costs the county to do the work to set up the.
Okay, so they do have to pay, but it's just,
Right.
it's a guesstimation of the amount and they might get a little back or they might
Right.
not.
And specifically what the RCW said, I have it in front of me. It's RCW 3661030. The county legislative authority may require, so it's.
Flexibility.
Right. The posting of a bond of up to $5,000 before the county considers the proposed creation of the district. The bond may only be used by the county to finance its costs in studying, holding hearings, making notice, preparing special assessment rolls, showing the rates and charges, and conducting elections. So it's to cover the cost of creation of the district.
Could you repeat the RCW, please, Robin?
3661030.
So that's another potential subsidy that could be given in a sense because the statute allows for may charge for that or doesn't have to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because it will be for your consideration another subsidy because the groundwork that needs to be done from the staff. Let's think about the proposal the board received. Can't remember the lake last year.
Black Lake?
No.
Summit?
Summit Lake. It was the same. Summit Lake wanted to form an LMD.
Well, it was something other than an LMD, wasn't it?
No, it was an LMD.
Special district.
It was a special use district or something. I think
Special
that's
use
different.
district. But it's the same because we needed to go through the same assessment and determine whether the background information is the same. Is the means and methods to how they form the district is different. So it's the cost, whether the board wants to consider to subsidize that with the general fund is really the question.
And in that case, the costs, I believe, exceeded $8,000.
For Summit.
But I would like to point out that a special use district is a completely different goal than a lake management district.
Right, but that's probably a similar.
A similar process maybe to put it in place.
An election, all that.
And are we ready for comments on that, on number two?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I want to do anything we can do to encourage the work that these lake management districts do. If we could get every lake in Thurston County to form a district like Long Lake and Lawrence Lake and work towards clean water, work with the legislators in our district, trying to recognize that it's not just a jewel for the lake resident, it's a jewel for Washington State. And that's kind of, I think, the concept where we're going here is to create an incentive to help our folks make that jump into doing the right thing for water quality. And that's kind of where I'm coming at. And I am so thrilled with the folks from Lawrence Lake and Long Lake to take this whole thing on for the whole county and help give us guidance so that we can create a better water quality process as an end result. That's kind of what I'm at. So I don't think that we should be charging them. I think we should be helping them at every turn to do the best thing they can do for the environment.
So that's a subsidy you may consider.
Yeah.
So, item number 3, certainly, it is related to any potential RCWs if the leadership of the Lake Management District have any specific RCW in which the county can consider lobbying to change at the state legislature. I mean, we always welcome and open, not just to the Lake Management District, but to any citizen as to how they can help us to change state law. Items number 4 and number 5, from my perspective, is a little more complicated. And having signed the number 4, the Public Information Office to work with the Lake Management District, that creates a big, heavy subsidy to assign a county employee to work with Lake Management Districts for that purpose. And my recommendation is, let me finish, please.
Yes.
My recommendation is perhaps that is not an appropriate way to use the Public Information Office. And number 5.
Well, wait, aren't we gonna comment on each one of these as we go along?
I think
Just let him finish talking.
number 4 and 5 are related. In number 4, I think it becomes a little even more complicated to have the aquatic resources specialist to reach out to other lakes. From my perspective, I don't think it will be a good approach for have county staff to start recruiting individuals from lakes where the board will implement a fee at the end of that recruitment process. That is, in my perspective, a very difficult way to conduct business, because they will be very difficult for us to start recruiting individuals that you will be imposing a fee or a taxation at the end of that recruitment. I believe that is not the role of the county employees. So my recommendation for 4 and 5 is for you not to consider that recommendation.
Are we there yet?
Go ahead. Jumping up and down.
Okay. I disagree with the county manager on that. I think when the county manager refers to the board imposing a fee, do you mean the Board of County Commissioners?
Yeah.
Or do you mean the Board of the Lake Management District?
The Board of County Commissioners is the one who approves the fees.
Okay. I don't know what fee we would be imposing. In most cases, we respond to a request from the lake management districts themselves about self-taxation, I guess is the way I look at that. So I think that anything going back to the environment, protecting the environment and water quality, I think anything the county does towards that larger goal is a benefit to all the citizens in Thurston County, not just lake folks and actually in the state. And going all the way back to 3, because if we can start doing something here and get a legislative move afoot to start and improve the process for our lakes around the state, I think it's a good thing. And so it has to start somewhere, and oftentimes Thurston County is the lead on many good proposals. And I think this is one of those good proposals that can blossom and contribute towards clean water and make our lakes the jewels that they should be for the citizens of this whole state. But start here with Thurston County first. Yes, it's gonna take some commitment on our part, but we've got a lake biologist that is already working with lakes. And so that's a start. We've already got a public information office. We can be the ones that say, yeah, that's okay, go ahead with that. You know, we're gonna be the deciding factor. But I think that anytime we can promote good environmental stewardship, it is beneficial to the whole state and specifically to Thurston County?
You know, it's an interesting question, and and since Mr. Pettit's sitting here, I'm gonna refer, he's on a couple of occasions given public comment, correct me if I'm, well, it's not an open meeting, but nod your head, shake your head if I'm wrong, but I think there's been an argument made that the lakes are really the responsibility of all of the county, and really the county should be doing the work to promote them, and we shouldn't be trying to basically force the responsibility for cleanup on the property owners through the lake management districts and the special purpose districts. And so that's kind of the counter argument to what you're saying. Now, whether it's that's more of just a policy, that's more of just, what's gonna get us to our goal? We all want healthier, cleaner lakes, and what's the best way? I think it's a sub-issue, what Ramiro's talking about kind of the appropriateness of using county staff to promote a legal arrangement that's asking folks to tax themselves. It's like saying, well, we don't really want to do it. If Mr. Pettit's position was right, for example, this is our job, then it's kind of weird for us to be out going, we don't actually want to do our job. We'd rather you guys pay for what we're not willing to pay for. So it's kind of a philosophical question here, and I mean, we hear it in all sorts of policies related to the lakes. Is it really about the people that live around them, or is it about everyone in the county? Does somebody in Rochester care about Lake St. Clair or Lake Lawrence, or vice versa? Or does somebody in Steamboat Island care about what's going on at Long Lake? Maybe if they swim or they boat, I don't know. And it's a murky question to me. And I think there's a couple levels of it. Attorney, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, on number 4 and 5, I feel it's murky. I like that word. It's murky because it's
because water quality is not good.
It's
true.
For me, I feel like other things come into play. I'm seeing it more from kind of like the financial aspect of things, because LMDs are already paying for staff to go in for testing, for, I believe, who's the staff person that's assigned to them? Paula? Is it Paula? And she's already out there, and then are we adding, so then if we were to add these, like, let's say the PIO, we would be subsidizing that employee's time that they're out doing outreach, as well as subsidizing the aquatic resource specialists when they're doing other outreach. I just don't know, how does that even work? Is it, and how would they, I'm looking towards Robin and Ramiro, because I'm not sure how that would even work. Like, how would we even go around subsidizing something like that? And how would, are we putting, specific times when they would do this? Like, what? It seems murky, and there seems a lot of questions, and I'm not even sure of the legality of it. So
to be honest with you, I'm just feeling very uncomfortable with number 4 and number 5. And Paula, in her time that she charges based on the performance that she does on the lakes and the other parts of the business. So if the board decides to ask her to do a programmatic recruitment of other lake management districts and other lakes, that's a totally different conversation. And she may not have the time. And then it will be up to the Director of Public Works to see how we can accommodate that, if that's the direction of the board, and where would the money come from in terms of subsidy. But I continue to believe that is feeling comfortable of the appropriateness of a county staff to start reaching out to the Lake Management District to help inform this district that you as a board ended up approving a fee, a structure, or taxation. And that is probably the complication that I see.
Wouldn't ultimately the creation of rates have to go onto a ballot?
Yeah, it has to be voted. Yes, it's very procedural. Yeah.
Commissioner Howard.
I guess I want to expand on your comments, Chair, about maybe the responsibility, because the state claims ownership on all of these lakes, yet they don't do much to help us. But they did create legislation way back when that was to encourage counties to encourage formations of these lake management districts. They knew at the time that they created that legislation that they couldn't do it on their own. They had to have public participation and encourage the public to participate. So I think it's already kind of implied, if you look at the creation of the laws that affect this, you'll see the background in it is that encouragement phase of this. So they already did that, and yet we're the county, we already do health department right now in all the lakes, checking water quality and algae blooms and toxicity and all that kind of stuff. This is just a step farther along to create the best lake system we can have in Thurston County. We could say, well, nobody can live on the lake anymore and stay back 500 feet. Well, I don't know who's gonna buy out all those properties. That's a way I guess we could do it. I think this would be much cheaper to get buy-in from not only all the lake residents, but all the citizens in Thurston County. And if it took a vote to move something forward by county residents, this county is pretty sensitive to environmental issues. And I really think they would tend to support that. And if we talk about salmon restoration, some of these lakes are the body of water that these creeks and such come out of, and that contributes to that ability for that salmon restoration. So I think it's part and parcel of good stewardship to have us do what we can do at a minimal cost, because we don't have the money to do all this. But if that minimal cost can encourage the citizens in Thurston County, whether they're lake residents or not, but we have to start somewhere, and creating these lake management districts is a piece of it. I don't think any of this is saying, well, we want the PIO to spend 10 hours a week or anything like that. Anything that would be done by the PIO would come through us. It would be some kind of a request. Hey, we want to promote X, whatever X is. Maybe we want to put on a forum and ask our legislative representatives to come to that forum. Show them how interested we are in creating good water quality, creating a good environment, and being good environmental stewards. Okay, so somebody has to coordinate that a little bit, I mean, look at what the lake management districts do now. Look at all the work they do already with absolutely no compensation. That state RCW was meant to encourage citizen involvement. And that's what we're promoting if we move forward with some of this stuff, is citizen involvement in solving a problem that we're not quite capable of doing on our own.
I think that we could, if you kind of backtrack a step from the encourage LMD formation, I think the county could provide information, have an informational open house type thing. Sure. Where they basically let residents know, here's an option that you have, kind of like the line we have to ride when we have a ballot proposition. We can't promote it. We can't ask people to vote for it. We can say, here's what it's about. Here's how it works. I mean, maybe that's a line that could.
Well, could I just comment on one more thing? Because I'm the oldest guy here, right? Yeah. So that gives me some historical abilities. I believe it was Tom Kleimenhagen worked for the Thurston County Board of Health, or the Health Department, way back when. That was in the early 80s. And he was instrumental in going out and showing these lake management folks that now evolved into lake management districts, how to create these districts, how to make it all work. And that's how we got these lake management districts that we have, is through county staff participation and showing how to do it. So I just think it's just a continuation of something that's already going on, and it makes perfect sense to me for a small investment to reap the benefit of clean water.
So I will agree with County Manager Chavez on, I think this is premature. I believe that this is a conversation for once we start the budget for the next 2 years. And I think it's definitely something to think about and to research. But I think we have to wait to make a decision until the budget comes through. That way we have a full picture of everything for the next 2 years. And if there is a resolution and if there's a policy that we have to amend at that point, I believe this can be discussed more openly once we have the full information of what we need to move forward and the full financial picture.
I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I mean, it makes sense, but we have to talk about it. We have to be willing to be open-minded about it. And whether we work towards some type of compensation in the upcoming budget, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we ought to have a work session at some point and talk about the history of what's going on here as one of our activities towards good environmental stewardship. I just don't think that we should just say, okay, we're gonna just make this one check out for $26,254 and forget it until then. I think we ought to make the check out and look towards a long-term solution, going along with Commissioner Mejia's concern. But in the meantime, I don't think it hurts to get from staff, how would this fit? Because the county used to do it. I'm not making that up. We can get somebody from the health department.
I can support that. I mean, kind of a follow-up with, what kind of information could be provided?
If you want to follow up.
Follow up with Paula and Tim.
Robin.
Oh, I was just gonna say,
Megan.
you know, it is my normal advice to you to make policy decisions as part of the budget process. So just that is my normal recommendation. I'll do what's normal for me. But I also just want to mention that part of this RCW clearly says a lake or beach management district may be initiated upon either the adoption of a resolution of intention by the county legislative authority or by filing a petition of the resident. So it is within the purview of the board.
You put it to a vote.
It would eventually, the rates and charges would eventually have to go to a vote. But the board is absolutely within your right to initiate by adoption of a resolution of intention. So
Intention to what, though? To form the district?
to form the district.
And that's what,
Right.
as you may recall, that's the first step, really,
Right.
they have taken in the past. Even when you did that on Summit Lake, you passed a resolution of intent. And
that came by petition.
But by petition?
Yes. That was a petition.
Yeah, the residents at Summit brought a petition.
Oh,
It was ultimately voted down, 80% no.
That's right.
So, I mean,
82% to be exact.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, that's I wonder how well this would be received by Summit Lake, but that's personal commentary.
Well, it's special use district, it was completely different than a limited
Summit Lake Special District is what it was being called.
I don't know, it was for a different purpose.
But, well, regardless, I think that there's a lot of information that staff could bring to you on what the steps would be as part of your budget deliberations.
Yeah, and I really feel though that when we get to that point where staff brings us information, because I don't disagree with Robin, that it's gonna have to be part of our policy decision when we interact with the budget process. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I don't want to go into the budget process and contemplate what we're gonna do here. And we haven't even discussed any more than this little bit that we've had today.
Right, because we don't have a lot of time to
Yeah.
get into things.
Yeah, we don't have time today to get to the bottom of this, but a few work sessions down the road, and let's look things over and see if we can't make it fit. And the RCW does allow it. The lake management folks, if you read their other material, they've got it in there, referring to those RCWs and the intent of those RCWs. So I just think it's worth doing. The county manager said that as we got going here this morning, that all the information to make an informed decision is what we're gonna talk about. Well, to make an informed decision, we do need all the information as we move forward. So that's all I'm asking for, that we recognize the issue and we get some input. And part of that input could be from the lake management folks. They've done a lot of research on this, you know, Paula in on it, and whomever else is knowledgeable.
I will bring this to the next planning session. I think it will be a good item for the planning session to have enough time.
When is that? You know?
I believe the next one is July, August. I haven't
I
checked.
thought it was in July. I thought I remember something.
But, I'll organize that as part of the planning session.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Made headway.
Fireworks is next. One of my favorite topics.
This is the yearly event. In 2016, the board passed Resolution 150-308, which amended Thurston County Code 6.68057, in which outlines is the county manager, after consulting with the fire marshal or other officials as may be deemed appropriate, may prohibit the discharge of consumer fireworks during periods of extreme fire danger. The prohibition shall take effect 1 day prior to the date of consumer fireworks may be legally sold under the RCW 7077. So that particular date is June 28th. So this is the first conversation with you. I'm gonna play my meteorologist type of role that I play every year. I see the long-term forecast. Today is gonna be up to 64 degrees with 62% humidity. And the extended forecast tends to be a little bit of a drier weather, which is higher temperatures start rising up to 80 degrees. But it will be unlikely the conditions will change. They will put us in the position to ban the discharge of fireworks. I will consult with the fire marshal, that will be Josh, as well as with Kurt Harding. He has reached out to the fire districts. And next week, I will bring a recommendation, at least from my point of view, and because that decision needs to be made prior to June 28th. So at this point, I don't see that will be the case to ban the discharge of fireworks. But next week, I will bring that as a formal recommendation for an action. That's all on that.
Questions?
No questions.
All right. More to come there. All right. That brings us to item 3, which is our energy efficiency funding set aside.
Yep.
Ramiro, do you want to walk us through?
Yes, as you may recall.
Oh, just under cover.
I
don't have that.
Do I have an old agenda?
I don't think you got a different agenda than I've got. Mine's
Well, I sent out revised agenda
Oh,
on Friday.
okay, I might have missed it. I might have grabbed the other one when I came in here. That's fine, I'm not questioning it, I'm just, go ahead.
Let me see if I can walk through this. So back in 2019, I think Commissioner Mesa and Commissioner Edwards would remember, we got a request from the climate action team for the board to support. At that point, it was a project. The board had a discussion on those terms, and at that point decided to set aside $37,500 with the understanding that they will reach out to the other jurisdictions to see if they can probably come up with additional funding because their request was $150,000 or so. So TCAT, the Thurston County Climate Action Team, went out and reached out to the other jurisdictions related to that board's direction. And at that point, they did not have support from the other jurisdictions. So TCAT came back later in the year and they revised the recommendation in terms of, as opposed to just go through a specific project, they recommended to go through a request for proposals to secure the services of a consultant to detail some of the next steps. The board will continue to be supportive of the $37,500 at that time, and also asked me to send specific letters to the jurisdictions, which I did, asking them to provide information related to what information needs to be included on the request for proposals. The TCAT requested at that time. I received a verbal communication from the city of Tumwater. They were not interested at that time since the climate action plan was in the process of being approved and reviewed by the many different jurisdictions. Fast forward to March, I believe of this year, is when you receive a letter in response to the letter of last fall from the city of Olympia saying, yes, that sounds like a great idea. So what happens in that conversation, we're in the process of developing the budget for 2021. And at that point, the board set aside $300,000 to fund all the climate action strategies after the climate action plan was approved by the board. I received some information that perhaps we missed to add additional $37,500 to the $300,000. And that was a conversation that occurred during the budget process. So it seems to be that a little bit of an error occurred in adding to the $300,000 to include this $37,500 as part of the overall climate action strategy. So here we are today, we have a $300,000 in 2021 for the board to implement any type of climate action strategies. And again, and is the additional $37,500 that was not included as part of the 2021 budget, because I did receive the information that perhaps that was the intent of the board during the budget discussions. I just want to give you that background perspective on what I believe, and at least from my recollection, the steps that are taken. And I believe Commissioner Mensah would like to engage the board on a particular proposal.
Yeah, thank you, Ramiro. So, yeah, I do want to get that corrected because I was able to go back and Tom Cena was able to go back and find the meeting where we discussed it, and it was pretty clear that Commissioner Edwards, you actually specifically said, no, wait a minute, I thought this was already handled, and Commissioner Hutchings jumped in and said, no, that was the TCAP money, this is a separate, and we went ahead from there. So anyway, I think that when the dust settles there, we've got this $37,500 separately set aside or separately allocated toward this program that TCAP proposed. Just to kind of fill in a few extra pieces from what Ramiro said. Originally, it was, we're gonna ask for, if we can get money from each jurisdiction, we've always done the climate stuff, 25%, 25%, 20%, 20%. If we can get 37.5 from each of the four, we can launch. And the county, they caught us just at the right time. We were right in the middle of a budget amendment process, and there was some money that we didn't think we were gonna have or something. I don't remember the details, but we had the opportunity, and it was unanimous. The board said, yeah, we'll do our part. Go get the other, and if you can, we actually said if you can get even 2 of the other jurisdictions, that would get you over 100. They thought if they could get more than 100, they could launch. So we said if you can get 2 more jurisdictions to add to ours, good to go. Well, the other jurisdictions, you said they weren't supportive. They just weren't in the same part of their budget processing, and they were supportive, but they weren't ready to allocate the money, commit the money. So TCAT came back to us in the fall and said, well, would the county be willing to release that their 37.5 to do a RFP for project design. The board then debated that and said, we would do that if we could get some, because ultimately what we want to design is a regional program. So if the other jurisdictions will say, yeah, we're with you, we'll add into the art, we'll add into the program design, we'll contribute to the
They agree with
to the work.
concept.
They work with the concept, then we'll go ahead and release our money. Well, there was a little bit of hem and hawing about that. Olympia didn't respond right away. Tom Water said, we're still working on where we're going with our climate funding. Lacey wasn't sure about staffing. So the money, as far as I understood, was just sitting there, ready to go when we got that commitment. Olympia finally stepped up and committed and said, yeah, great idea. Tom Water, the mayor of Tom Water has just weighed in and said.
New letter we just got.
Yeah, so I think we're good. The only wrinkle is that the Olympia now, since they've sent a letter, I had a long discussion with Lisa Parsley from the Olympia City Council. They've got a climate coordinator. She's working on things that she thinks may overlap with what TCAT has proposed. They want to make sure that we can dovetail it so it really works well and doesn't overlap, and who's going to be responding. They want to they'd like to put some sideboards on the proposal so that it's not duplicative. And I respect that point of view. We hemmed and hawed about this this week. I think what my proposal will be to the board is that this is going to be on the agenda for the Climate Steering Committee on the 28th. Olympia is going to raise its requests about what the program parameters ought to look like for the RFP. So my proposal is that we go ahead and agree to release our money contingent on an approved motion from the Climate Steering Committee as to the details of the RFP and the proposal. That way, that can be hammered out amongst the jurisdictions so that we know we have full participation going forward as we had wanted. So that's my proposal. I'd like to kind of get this moving. I think the proposal is about getting energy efficiency conversion strategies in place. It relates directly to strategies in our climate mitigation plan that we've approved. So I think we need to move it forward, but I think we should continue to have a condition. We should modify our condition for a third time and say the condition now is approval of the Climate Steering Committee as to the details of the proposal.
Kind of as presented by Olympia? Is that what
Well, they're gonna have to convince this Climate Steering Committee of what those sideboards need to be. They're worried about maybe, is TCAT gonna be, they'd like to define how our staff are gonna work with TCAT, are gonna work with the contractor, they want more clarity and they haven't gotten those answers, and I think we should make sure that everybody has those answers before we move forward.
And that's for the 37.
That's just for the 37.
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to get them. All right, thank you. I'll let them know, and Commissioner Mejia will be.
And I will work with Robin as to how we can make sure the intent of the board of last fall is materialized this year.
I appreciate that, because I think
we'll work on that.
Is that the meeting I'm attending?
Yeah, so next week, I'm asking that we have a special meeting where I can sit here and brief Commissioner Mejia on what will be the right.
It will not be special, it was just regular
Or a
meeting.
regular meeting, whatever, but not a typical meeting where we have, and Commissioner Edwards, you'd be more than welcome to attend, of course.
It will be just a regular meeting where two commissioners will have a conversation at this.
So we're not having our commissioner check in. I don't know any other time that I'm allowed to let her know what she needs to know. Okay, so that takes us to item 4, public testimony.
I don't have anything.
Item 5, other commissioner items, and we do have an executive session.
Yeah, I recommend for you to hold your commissioner items and just move into the executive session so you have enough time to
Is that
discuss.
okay? All right, we're gonna go to.
Elizabeth, is John going to join this conversation?
Yes, as soon as I call him into the executive
Mary,
session.
I will ask you to leave the Zoom meeting.
I estimate 30 minutes for this particular.
You have to leave the Zoom meeting. Mark, who is? Marius, you need to leave the Zoom meeting. And for the members of the public, I will be recusing myself from this executive session, so. Let me see, I have
Okay, should I go ahead and do the introduction?
to. Yeah, let me do it, Mary, yourself.
Are you not able to evict him?
Yeah, I just need to see.
Can,
Hold on, the chair is gonna outline the RCW before we close the feed.
Okay, board is moving into executive. Sorry.
wait, just 1 minute. Go ahead. Sorry.
The board is moving into executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-1101F to receive and evaluate complaints or charges brought against a public officer or employee, specifically the county manager. Commissioner's action may follow. We are estimating 30 minutes for this executive session. It is 11:38 a.m. on June 15th, and we will be back or have an extension announced as soon as the executive session is complete. Good to go, Brian. Thank you.